One of the most difficult transitions is this of passing from the side step into the front or back step. And generally passing from a two feet stance to a 1 foot stance, like we're doing here. And oftentimes this is where we lose our balance, or basically we jeopardize our alignment and then we lose our balance. So in this video, we are spending a lot of time in this transitioning space, and we're trying to go over it again, to go over this transition again and again, going forward and backwards into steps. So this might seem rather straightforward, and you might be wondering, why are we spending so much time on this? However, if you start to notice, there's not one thing in the body that stays in one perfect line. So I want you to take your gaze from the feet up, and I've changed my orientation here just to give you a little bit more insight, and try to notice what's happening here. So there is the hip movement that are going forward and back. They're also going up and down, and then that is followed by the movement of the torso that is also going forward and the back and up and down. So there is a little bit of a twist and a little bit of a side bend, and there is a little bit of a wave, which we will see when I change my orientation again for you guys to see. So but you'll notice that nothing stays still. So it's not a transition that is managed only on the feet. It is a transition that is managed throughout the whole body, and it is the alignment of the whole body and the proper use of every little part of it that will give you a smooth forward or back step and a smooth transition from a side step. So, okay, in this view, I think it's a little bit easier to see that transition, that extra movement that I was talking to you about. So when we swing forward and back, we said the hips go forward and back, and they go up and down. And then there's a little bit of a wave that is explained by the curve in the spine. And you could see a little bit of it here. So as we swing, notice I will ask you to focus a little bit on the lower back. See how it curves, and in the upper back also. Notice how it curves. So it's a continuous wave of the spine that allows for that little bit of a flexion to happen. So try to see that flexion. I hope you're able to catch it as I swing this leg, but it's also there at this, let's see, it's coming, I promise. So here at this moment, so see how the hips and the shoulders somewhat realign, but not in a completely straight line. So basically we have forward and back, up and down, and like a wave. So like a little bit of a flexion and extension of the spine. The other thing I want you to notice in this second round of back steps is that we're starting from this let's say 0.0 position. And we talked about this 0.0 position a few times before. It is the position where you're ready to move in many different directions, but you haven't committed. See, you're not committed to one or the other. You're right in the middle, and you can comfortably support this position. You should feel that you are ready to move here, but you are ready to move in every direction, and you are comfortable. So as you can see, take your time between reps to allow for that feeling of comfort and readiness to come into this stance. So this is a very important position. It's a position where you are fully aware of your options, bodily aware, not in a cognitive sense. So of course, we always know what our options are: forward, sideways, etc. But here we're building a base from which we should feel ready to move in every direction. So we have we're building on body awareness to be able to feel that every part of our body is able to smoothly transition to the next step, in whichever direction that would take us. So this is why this 0.0 position is very important. And if you need to spend more time in it, finding your breath, finding your alignment, do so. And don't expect some crazy sequence. It's really a really small and simple sequence. The reason I kept it simple and the reason I took my shoes off is because I want you to notice what's happening at the feet. So take a look. Notice that my toes are not facing straight forward. Notice also how the heel comes in towards the center line every time I step forward. And notice how the back foot rolls from the outside to the inside. That's in terms of feet. So take a moment here. Notice all these little details. Yeah. Notice also that we are not stepping in on one line, but we're not also stepping away from the line. So see how the heels are coming really quite close towards the center line. You see that? And then when we reverse and we go into back steps, we reverse that roll from the big toe towards the outer part of the leg without falling all the way out to the pinky. So this doesn't only have to do with how our feet are designed to move. This also has to do with how our leg moves inside our hip. And we've had a video in the past that we've talked about this. And we have an internal rotation. If we want to stay congruent in that hip while taking our leg backwards, we have an internal rotation. And if you want to stay congruent in that hip when you're going forwards, we have an external rotation. That's why your toes will turn out when you're going forward and will turn in when you go backwards. See it here? See how it's slightly, the foot and the knee, they slightly open compared to before, that they would slightly turn in, let's put it that way. So it's not only to do with how our feet are built to move, it's the whole body.